Hey everyone, Kyle Kopy back here with my friends and colleagues. We have Dave Gordon and we have Charlie Hornbacher, and today we're going to be talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie, the new one, not that weird 1993 one, but the new one. Many people in the conservative world are touting this as a anti-woke movie. If not that, then just a non-woke movie, a great thing where you can take your kids to see, and there's no crazy transgender, LGBTQ, MLOP, whatever. There's none of that in there. And so a lot of people, again, are saying this is a great movie where you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But we do have a slightly different take on that, and Dave Gordon's going to explain that. But first, I want to bring it over to Charlie, who has seen the movie, who has talked about the movie publicly before. Charlie, I just want to get your initial thoughts on the Super Mario Brothers movie. What'd you think?
I actually very much enjoyed the movie, and not just being a Mario fan, but I thought that the movie was quite wholesome. Spoiler alert, I do sympathize with David Gordon's position here that he'll get to. I'm somewhere on the fence. There are problems with the movie and how the story is told. That said, overall, the movie's wholesome. It has a good message. The overt woke stuff is absent from the movie, barring one little factor, Princess Peach. And I think that the format of a movie is important as well. The way that stories are told matter because they reflect our life experiences. And so when you have a movie such as Mario that just has a nice, wholesome little story, the people that watch it, mostly kids, are able to relate to the characters. They're able to relate to their stories, and it was touching. The relationship between Mario and Luigi was wholesome and touching. I related a little bit to it, not so much in my personal life, but maybe in just some of my experiences.
Then again, Charlie, like you had a brother come and rescue you from a giant dragon turtle's castle. Like it relates to your life on that level.
A little bit. I mean, the movies are meant to exaggerate those types of things. We enjoy stories, whether it's a book or a movie or something someone tells you around the campfire, because they're exaggerations of our real life. We want our life to be fantastic. We want to save the girl from an evil force. We think of ourselves as the protagonist in our own stories. And so that's one of the reasons why we love the movies, because they tell those stories. And in spite of the fact that Princess Peach is not the damsel in distress in the movie, that doesn't automatically mean that the movie in and of itself as a story is suddenly bad. There's certainly the possibility, and I think in actuality, in the case of Mario, that the movie might actually still have a good, wholesome story. It's just not the wholesome story that you might have been looking for. The wholesome story is not in the castle, it's in another castle. Little cheesy reference there. But that's my 2 cents. We can dig into the details of it in our discussion, but sure. That would be, in summary, I am on the fence, but I'm more leaning in towards the movie is a good movie.
Okay, I'm full out opposite because I grew up on Mario Brothers. I'm not saying you didn't. I know you're a fan of Mario Brothers, but like this defined a lot of my childhood. I'm not saying I was like the kid that was playing video games all day. I wasn't. I did outside things. I played a lot of basketball. It was a big chess player, but Mario was certainly semi-formative for me. So I played Mario 1, Mario 2, Mario 3, the Super Nintendo, SNES Mario, Mario World, and even the crummy Yoshi spin-off that you played with like the Super Nintendo Scope. I skipped N64, except I think I rented it once from like Blockbuster when that was still a thing. But I didn't like the 3D format. Like, Mario's a platformer. That's what it is. It's a side-scrolling platformer. You can't really mess with that. Then I played the Wii version, the Wii U version, and the Switch version. The Wii U version and the Switch version are basically the same. It's a couple new updates or whatnot. But needless to say, suffice it to say, I've played all basically of the major entries in the Mario series. Watched some of the cartoons growing up, the Mario Brothers Super Show, and they have like a Mario 3 cartoon. So my Mario chops are solid. So you go in there, the basis of the Mario series, the very basis. Every Mario game except for 2, which is a weird game. It's its own thing. You know, it turns out Mario was just dreaming, possibly.
Yep.
It's not
It was just
Bowser.
a dream. So
yeah,
it wasn't real. Peach actually didn't go on an adventure with him. It was just his imagination.
It's a giant middle finger at the end. After you fight, it's like a King Toad. Wart the Toad. Yep.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even meant to be a Mario Brothers game. It was originally designed to be a different series, and then Mario Brothers kind of just co-opted it and like bought it out. So it's a little bit of like the bastard child in the Mario series, but basically everything else. And I'm talking Mario 1, Mario 3, Super Mario World on SNES, even the N64 one, which I did not play, the Wii version, the Wii U version, and the Switch version. They were all revolving around Bowser kidnaps Princess. That is the basis of the Mario story. It's a damsel in distress. She is not an action heroine. She is there. Sometimes she will send you an item, a mushroom, a P-wing, a cloud, so you can get through levels that are difficult that you otherwise might not be able to beat. You know, in Super Mario World, she's in Bowser's flying apparatus when you're fighting the final boss, and, you know, she'll throw you a mushroom after each, you know, sub part of that stage. But she is not a tough guy. Even in Mario 2, when she was a playable character, she's the weakest. Like, each one has a varying strength. Mario can pull stuff up pretty fast. Luigi can pull stuff up. He's the third strongest. But Toad is the strongest. Like, Toad's the tough guy, cut off shirt and all that stuff. Princess, her special power is that she glides with her dress. She's never been tough. She is the perpetual damsel in distress, and it's almost like Princess Zelda. It's like, if you get kidnapped again, I'm just leaving you there. Like, Ganon can keep you. You know, Bowser can just have you. Like, I'm done. If you're dumb enough to get, like, there ain't no Amber Alert going out through the Mushroom Kingdom this time. You're staying gone. Like, you're done. If you get kidnapped again, because she's chronically kidnapped. In the movie, because they are not allowed to write damsel in distress stories anymore, because that's bad. We have to make believe that women are tough, that women's muscles aren't puny and frail and weak. We have to live in the alternate reality because, you know, feminism, which it's funny that coincides alongside the trans sports thing. Like, we had this debate, should trans men be, or trans women allowed to be in women's sports, because they beat the crap out of women in sports, even when they're on, like, you know, synthetic hormones to try and be more woman-like. Women are so bad at sports that even wimpy, neutered guys can destroy them. But now we have to pretend women are tough. They don't need rescuing. It's woke BS. We are so demoralized, though, and conditioned to the woke stuff being, like, crammed down our throat. Like, we have to see, like, lesbians, like, scissoring in Toy Story 4 or whatever it is, you know. We're so used to them putting out, like,
that was a thing?
No.
That was a thing? Okay.
No, he is right, though, because have you seen Toy Story 4, Charlie?
No, I haven't. I think I've seen up to 3.
Okay, so if you watch Toy Story 4, side note, Bo Peep, right? That's Woody's gal. In Toy Story 4, Bo Peep loses the sheep, she takes off the skirt, and then she becomes a ninja. That's what happens with Bo Peep, and she's like this, you know, she saves everyone. She's like this actress, or this action heroine, just like all these other movies. I mean, Jennifer Lopez, like washed up Jennifer Lopez, just came out with a movie where she's like some assassin or something like that. I don't want to see that. Jennifer Lopez can't beat any guy.
Dude, that's Jenny from the Block. What are you talking about?
I know. She's tough.
No, but okay. So they sneak that's even the best you can hope for. Just like the typical like I am woman, hear me roar, girl power feminism is the best you can hope for, because usually, you know, it's Disney sneaking in gay kisses to their children's movies, and that's being pushed on our kids. So when we just have the ordinary run of the mill, like we're gonna make believe that women are tough and invert, you know, sex roles, then we all celebrate because we're demoralized. We're used to getting dunked on. We're used to having, again, lesbians like scissoring in our kids' pictures and having to be up in arms about that. So since it was Nintendo, which is notoriously a family-friendly company, you know, they always had the strictest licensing requirements. They wouldn't put out the smutty games, at least really more until like GameCube era came in. But they used to be very strict with being like family-friendly for the entries that came out on their system. I mean, with regular Nintendo, some companies tried to make like adult video games, and Nintendo wouldn't license them, and those actually ended up being like the rarest games because they made like bootleg games that worked with them, like Bubble Bath Babes, and there's like a whole culture of collecting this stuff.
Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah,
that might have been a computer game though.
I thought that was maybe later towards Xbox. I think you're right though. Okay, so Nintendo is notoriously family-friendly. So they said no to the, obviously, like the straight, you know, grooming your kid to be a future, like, musical pervert. But the studios will not produce a movie that doesn't have, like, a ridiculously unrealistic, strong female character. Because they think that a damsel in distress is sexist. They think that Mario winning the damsel's heart by rescuing her is sexist, and that it probably has like consent issues in it anyway. So they've butchered the storyline. They cucked Luigi. They made Princess have to teach Mario how to be tough. Like, yeah, this broad's gonna teach a Brooklyn plumber how to be a tough guy. Like, sure, she might have to show him like you use mushrooms to get big and strong, but she had to go and teach him like how to fight and do an obstacle course. And of course, when she's doing like the training with him, she's like, well, I got it on the first try. Or it comes out that she got it on the first try.
That was a really weak part of the film. They missed opportunities for Nintendo to actually tell a good story as opposed to cater to the Western woke garbage.
Yeah, so last comment. Yeah. So they've cucked their leading man. Nintendo has taken their icon, the face that is synonymous with Nintendo, that beautiful, rotund, mustachioed face, and they cucked him. They cucked him, and they let it happen. I think it's indefensible. I was aghast when I was watching it because I watched it with my kids, and they're big Mario fans too. And like, you know, I was trying not to let on like how angry I was by the end of the movie, but like, it's just so my kids can have a good lighthearted time. But it's in everything. Everything's been co-opted. We're saying it's not politicized. It is politicized. This is still a fabrication. Women aren't tough. We're still being forced to lie and say 2 + 2 is 5. I won't go along with it. So I think I give it a fail. Because it butchered the story. It retconned the story of Mario. Charlie, to you.
All right. So, I don't disagree with your position largely. I'm truly on the fence with the Mario movie. I think that the weakest aspect of the movie was Peach being a Mary Sue, all-powerful. Throughout the entire film, I'm sitting there wondering to myself, why doesn't Peach just go save Luigi? If she can just do everything perfect, why does Mario even need to come along and do anything? And how much more meaningful would it have been if Peach, after doing her whole thing in the obstacle course, said, as she did in the film, she said, I had to try really hard to get it right. And then Mario says, oh, you did? You had to work really hard to get good at it? And she says, oh, no, I did it on my first try. If they had stuck with her just telling the truth and not lying at first, and instead just saying, it took me a lot of tries. I had to really work hard to get here. That would have been a nice little story element. That would have been a message to Mario, who, by the way, the people in the theater are sitting there putting themselves in Mario's shoes. The protagonist, the point of the protagonist is that the viewer sees themselves in the protagonist. And if you put yourself in the protagonist's shoes, and then one of the supporting characters is giving them a little lesson, like you have to work hard to do good things, well, then that's going to be relatable. We all heard from our fathers, our mothers, our brothers, our older siblings, friends, you got to work hard. You got to work hard. That's a good message that Nintendo missed out on. Instead, they had to go, girl power.
Yeah.
I agree with the whole sentiment. Peach should not have been a Mary Sue.
Peach became Luigi, dude. That's what it is. They just swapped out Peach's
She was better
role.
than Luigi. Luigi's always kind of been second to Mario. The only thing he could do is jump higher and be taller.
But he had all this. Look at Mario 1 and Mario 3 as he progressed through the game.
Yeah.
He's the same guy, but green, basically. Yeah. And he is on the main adventure to rescue Peach. They've swapped that out. Now Peach is rescuing Luigi, and she's on the adventure with Mario.
Yeah.
They even have it. One more thing. They even have him in the cage that is traditionally reserved for Princess Peach. In all of the entries, Princess Peach is locked away in that like birdcage looking thing. They put Luigi in it.
Okay. So I am not going to try to make the case that aspect of the story doesn't fit with the games, the canon of the games. Because obviously throughout all the games, you're Mario and or Luigi, second player is Luigi, and you go and you save the princess. That is clear and obvious. That is not a position I'm willing to argue against. What I am going to argue, though, is that the story that they did tell was still a good story, except for this part of it where Peach is just, a kick-ass character that can do anything. That aspect of it sucked. That aspect of it took me out of the story and made me go, oh, come on. And I'll do my best to explain why. Films are broken up into 3 parts. The first act, second act, third act. In the Mario movie, the first act is them, Mario and Luigi, in Brooklyn. And while they're in Brooklyn, it's all about them. That part of the film is about building, world building and character building. There's not really much to the story, maybe a couple little nuggets here and there. Mario's told by his parents, his dad, you're leading Luigi astray. You're making big mistakes, putting all your money in this business. You shouldn't do that. That's irresponsible. Making Mario second guess himself. But the main dynamic between Mario and Luigi is that Luigi looks up to Mario, and Mario is trying to be someone worthy of being looked up to. And so because of that dynamic, that's kind of what the movie needs to be revolved around. And now they could have written the story differently. I'll concede that. They could have written the story entirely differently and not started off in Brooklyn or whatever. But the way that the story started off, the first act is all about Mario and Luigi, world building, character development. Peach doesn't even come in until the second act. And so when I was in high school, I learned, I don't think this is the technical term, but the Peach character is, from what I learned in high school, the fairy godmother character of the movie. The fairy godmother character is basically any character in any film that's kind of the wise person or the person with some knowledge that helps the protagonist, along their adventure. Peach serves that role. She's the head of the Mushroom Kingdom. She knows about the world, so she has that knowledge. She's led a bunch of toads in their kingdom. She's their leader, so she has that wisdom. She has experience with that, and that's all evident in the beginning of the second act. And so she serves as that fairy godmother character. If we were to rewrite the entire film so that Mario and Luigi go and save Princess, you'd have a completely turned around different story. And if we're going to talk about canon, yeah, Peach is usually the one that's captured and has to be saved. But what's also canon, and that's actually probably predates most of the games, is that Mario and Luigi are from Brooklyn and they go through some magic warp pipe and go to the Mushroom Kingdom.
Sure, that's like Mario Bros. Even before you tack
like
on
the TV
Super.
show. Yeah, and so they clearly wanted to go with that story, and it would have been difficult to set up a situation where they have to save Peach.
Wait, no, dude, no way. There's an infinite number of ways to tell the story. They could have gotten to the Mushroom Kingdom and, met Peach on the way in, had Toad give an introduction.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden the Bowser ship comes and steals her like in the video games, comes and kidnaps her like in the video games, and then Toad be the guide. Toad be the fairy godmother who acclimates them to the kingdom after like the love interest has been acquired. There's a million ways to do this and keep the canon intact. They purposely didn't do it, and I posit that they purposely didn't do it not because Nintendo necessarily wanted it this way, because they don't, because Nintendo's actually stuck to their guns, as you can see in the Switch entry, where Peach is kidnapped again. So they don't have a problem at Nintendo, Japanese, very patriarchal
Japanese
society. Yeah, it's the movie studios. The movie studios said nope, and they had some diversity, equity, inclusion, higher broad in there, like, let's get a storyboard together. The kids don't want that old-fashioned stuff. The kids want gender-neutral blobs running around that are gonna, be really inclusive and all hug each other, and there's no evil and there's no good, and they just kind of all hug it out. Like that's the mindset where you get the affirmative action hire broads that have risen up to be like studio executives that are completely brainwashed, as George Orwell says. It's always the women, the brainwashed ones, the swallowers of slogans. That's from 1984. And it's that. I can just see it. Like the Kathleen Kennedy, no, let's get the storyboard and we're going to completely do this. Princess is Rey. Princess is to Mario, the Mario Brothers movie, what Rey is to Star Wars.
Yeah, well, they're both Mary Sues. And there is a distinction. I use the term Mary Sue to describe Princess Peach because she's not really a girl boss, because she doesn't belittle Mario with her attitude and words. She's very kind and nice, but she is definitely a Mary Sue. She just does everything perfully.
She got girl boss voice. The raspy,
maybe
Tara Reid voice.
Actress was a little bit like that. Yeah.
Terribly miscast.
By the way, there's a rumor, and this is just a rumor, that the original script involved Princess Peach actually saving the day at the end and doing everything, and Nintendo came in and said no. Mario saves the day, and Luigi has his moment at the end. Now that's a rumor. It sounds like it could be true. It definitely sounds like it could be the reality. And if that is true, then there's certainly elements of that story in the script that we got, in the story that we got, where
the princess
Peach
does save the day.
So there's another.
She saves the day. Go ahead.
There's one more. Well, not one more. There is another thing about this whole story arc that in the Mario movie that I think, had Nintendo insisted one thing extra, or had the woke people in America, the Illumination Studios, had they done something slightly different with this one particular scene, I would be making the case that this is like the best version of a Mario movie that would ever have been made. Princess Peach has to forego her own freedom in the film and say, yes, Bowser, I will marry you if you don't destroy the Toadstool Kingdom and the Mushroom Kingdom. And so she submits herself to be his captive. And so in the film, for a brief moment, she is Bowser's captive. And I was sitting next to Joe Enders. We watched it for his the review we did on his Red Top Report. And a quick little plug there. Go see my review of Mario on the Red Top. I leaned over to him when Peach was giving her freedom up, and I leaned in and I said, it's getting good. This is going somewhere good. you have a monarch, a ruler of a kingdom who has that responsibility to their people, and they're making a great sacrifice for their people, for their kingdom. That was like, whoa, this is getting really, really good here. Mario and Donkey Kong are off, lost somewhere. They have to find their way back. And, Princess Peach has to, do the unthinkable to save the kingdom from destruction. Where Nintendo went wrong was, as Mario and Donkey Kong were on their way back, and I'm at the edge of my seat thinking Mario is going to save Princess Peach from Bowser, just like in the games. And they, all of a sudden, what does Peach do? She pulls out a frost flower out of her sleeve and does a backflip and just saves the day herself. I just leaned back in the chair and went, oh, here we go. They couldn't just let Mario save her. So that's why I'm on the fence. I sympathize greatly with your position here.
Yeah, let me add.
But how awesome would it have been if I would have zero issue with Princess Peach being this fairy godmother character who's the ruler, who is good at all this stuff because she's been there, she's lived in this kingdom, and she's showing Mario the way, and then she is captured and Mario does save her before they go and save Luigi.
It doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. It's like saying Lois Lane should be tough because Superman is tougher. I wouldn't have a hard time digesting that or accepting that Lois Lane could be tough because Superman is. Like, no, you get two protagonists, maybe Toad. Like, that's the squad. That's the crew. Just because the boys are tough doesn't mean the 120-pound women are with, like, their frail bones and wimpy muscles. No, the women, like... You know why Princess can't be tough? Because the WNBA exists. Yeah. You know why Princess can't be tough? Because the women's soccer team, the women's Olympic soccer team, got beat by under 14 boys.
I'll concede that the best version of the film, in my opinion, would have been that Peach had her power in knowledge and wisdom and leadership. Because she is Princess Toadstool, she's essentially the queen of the Toads, and even though they call her Princess, and unless there's some hidden monarch in the background,
I think it's her father.
Yeah,
I believe it's her father.
Well, yeah, in the cartoon she has a father. That's right.
And in Mario 3, it's all the kings. It's
there's a bunch of
I wouldn't
kings,
want her as a leader anyway, because women don't make good leaders.
The best version of the movie, her ability and power would be her knowledge, her wisdom, her leadership, and it's Mario that saves her from being captive from Bowser. But giving her that moment to make that sacrifice for the Toadstool Kingdom, or the Mushroom, I keep calling it the Toadstool Kingdom, the Mushroom Kingdom. That was a great moment for Peach in the film. And then it was preceded, following that was this lame moment where she does a backflip and saves herself from being a captive. Oh, my cat is...
Well, let me get my rebuttal here. Because I strongly disagree. You know why she had to give herself over to Bowser and be like, I'm going to make a sacrifice. I will give you myself if you just leave my friends and people alone. You know why they had to do that? It's so ridiculous. It's so retarded. Bowser's this, 1,000-pound, fighting, fire-breathing dragon turtle thing with spikes all over him, and this 120-pound, 120-pound lady had to basically be like, okay, I'm going to give myself to you. It's like, he could just take you. He could break you in half, Princess. You know why they had to do that?
She played off of his dingbat. He's a simp. Bowser's a simp.
He's simp for, but the reason it had to be written like that is because some dingbat, diversity, equity, and inclusion hire, was like, well, we don't want to show young girls the message that they have to, that somebody can steal them, that somebody can force themselves on them.
Imagine a story.
She has to consent. It's a consent thing.
Imagine a story that could take place in the real world. But back in the days of the monarchs, where a king and his army come in marching in because he wants the princess from another kingdom, another country, and And so he surrounds the villages and the people, and he goes into the castle and he surrounds the princess, and he's like, I'm going to slaughter all your people. And then she's like, I'll give myself to you. If you save my people, I'll submit.
Yeah, it's a classic like damsel throwing herself into the volcano situation. Yeah. Sure, but that's
basically what happened. But in cartoon,
Mario, bro, he steals her. He's bigger than her, and he steals her. In the Wii version, in the Switch version, a giant fist comes out of the ship and like smashes through the castle and grabs her. He doesn't.
That's true.
That would be cool if that were an organic development in the Mario series, but it's not. It's an accretion that some simpleton, some basically woman who worships her own ovaries, who's been groomed in feminist ideology from some dumb Ivy League college where her professor was like a lesbian who co-opted her to that side, was like, no, you know what the most important thing in life is? It's consent. And we're not going to teach young girls that Bowser turtles, dragon turtles that breathe fire, can just break down the concept of consent by stealing them. And that's what's happening at like Pixar. That's what's happening in all these studios, dude. That's the kind of battle we're up against.
I hope you don't take this too much as an insult. You're sounding to me like someone who complains that a movie is bad that was adapted from a book because it's not like the book.
Dude, it flies in the face of all of it. If you series.
You have a video game and then you do a movie adaptation. There's going to be some changes because a video game is the story in a video game is extraordinarily simple. Princess captured, save princess. That's literally it. With a movie, you have to develop that story a little more. You have to kind of take a few liberties. You have to do a few things. And so I'm not going to fault the Mario movie for not having Bowser just come in with a giant fist coming out of a mech and just like capturing Peach. You know, making it more human in the interactions between them, I think is a good thing. And giving each individual character, even the ones that aren't the protagonist, their own little miniature arc is also a good thing. Peach's arc is quite simple, but these two plumbers from, the human world come crashing in and suddenly her kingdom is being threatened and she's using this Mario guy to help, save everybody. And she has to, make great sacrifice for her kingdom. Luigi's arc is that he, in his looking up to Mario, discovers that he has some, inner strength too. And it happens in the end when he actually saves Mario from being, roasted by Bowser's fire, which was a great aspect. And there's a whole nother thing with this debate here that I wanted to get into. While, yes, I concede that it's a problem that Peach is overpowered, she's Mary Sue, girl boss, they shouldn't have done that at all. She shouldn't have been physically powerful. At this, what Nintendo did do, and what I think they did do right, and I do give them credit for, is have a story about brothers that is about brotherly love, fraternity. That whole story between Mario, and Luigi Mario was a beautiful, wonderful, much needed story in today's age. Because while
give me 1 second, can I jump in? Because you're transitioning away from something you said that I think we can agree on.
Sure.
But I want to address before you go forward with this. Because, let's agree. We can agree here. Movies sometimes have to take artistic liberties with the original source material, with what's in a book, just a lot of times for the pure practicality of transferring what's on the written page to what's on the scene screen.
Yeah.
But that transfer, the changes, the tweaks should always be of necessity, and they should be done with the least damage to the original source material. So the fact that these are inorganic accretions, that they are things that are put on not because they worked the best, they flowed the best necessarily, but because of ideology, but because of feminist ideology, which sees rape, by the way, as the absolute greatest crime in the history of the universe. You can never have anything that seemingly violates consent, even if it's put in a negative light, even if it's framed in a negative light. They just won't even show it now in kids' movies. And obviously, rape is bad and all that stuff. It's real bad. But they're so twisted and distorted on the idea of consent and on their obsession over rape culture, which they see as the physical manifestation of patriarchy, of like males dominating females. And obviously, rape would be a mortal sin, yada yada. For the dingbat out there that's going to be like, hey, Dave likes rape, yeah, shut up, just unsubscribe. That's what it was. It was not an organic transfer and where they made a tweak to just make something work for the sake of making a screenplay of a book. I resent it, and it gets my mind thinking about something other than the actual movie itself. It gets me thinking about, I'm a stooge. Like, I am being lectured to through this medium, and then I start having resentment, and then I can't concentrate. So that's where I would disagree. Be as faithful to the original source material as you can. Yeah. They could have done that, and they opted not to because, again, woke ideology.
Yeah, I think a version of the movie that could have been that I think would accommodate both you and myself, and maybe this would be the best version, would be, Mario and Luigi, Act 1. Mario and Luigi are in Brooklyn. Luigi looks up to Mario. Mario's trying to be worthy of being looked up to. They accidentally portal into the Mushroom Kingdom, and Bowser, they learn of this Bowser character, and he's going to kidnap Peach, and they stage a defense. Due to Luigi's cowardice and Mario's uncertainty, Peach is captured. And by the way, Peach's frailness and being a female and being subject to being captured by a strong 2,000-pound, turtle. So she's captured. Then through working together, Luigi learning that he too can be strong like Mario, and Mario learning that he is worthy of being looked up to, they save the day. Something like that maybe would have been a greater film. But you know what? Shoulda, woulda, coulda. I agree that the feminist infiltration, if the rumor's true about the Mario movie, that was all for the bad. And yeah, it's not organic. More faithful to this material, the source material. The movie could have been more faithful to the source. She
somersaults away again. It's not Mario. Mario never saves her.
Yeah,
he saves
you're
herself.
Right.
She
backflips away. That was the weakest
away.
part of the movie, in my opinion. The weakest part of the movie was there's two parts to it. One, she did the obstacle course on the first try. That was just stupid. And then the second thing was that the worst offense, the worst thing was she saved herself from. And what does that teach little girls that maybe, are watching the movie and like Princess Peach as a character because she's a girl, she's, a princess, she wears a dress, she's pretty. What does that say to them? That like they're kick ass and they can do whatever they want? Like, what kind of message is that to a little kid that they can just do anything and they don't need advice from anyone, and everything they think and do is just the best.
And when they hit high school and they realize how awful they are at sports, they're going to be like, dang, I was lied to my whole life.
And not just sports, but just how bad they are at whatever they happen to be bad at. They were taught as little kids in their movies that the characters they looked up to were good at everything if they just believed in themselves.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And that's not true. That's
and
false.
You can do anything.
Meanwhile, the boys that like to look up to Mario in this movie might get from that movie that if you work really, really hard, you can earn value. and you can be worthy of being looked up to by those that you help, that those you look after.
Yeah.
And you know, so to get back to that point, so yes, I agree with you. Source material is important to be faithful to. Adaptations should be just in their changes. They should have good reasons to make changes.
Dude, you were talking fraternity. Like,
yeah, so
the reason it's butchered. They butchered fraternity, and here's why. You can't have fraternity without the interloping women now. No, I want no women at Augusta National Golf Course. I want no women at my men's club. I want no women in, like, the, you know, Rotary Club or whatever it is. Whatever you have, men want fraternity, and you can't have it. You can't have your band of brothers anymore because you always have the interloping Mary Sue tomboy who thinks she's just part of the guys. I've always been treated like I'm just part of the guys. No, you haven't. They didn't like you that much. They just tolerated you and put up with you and probably rolled their eyes. Well, that's what we've got. We've got the interloping female. So you say this promotes fraternity. The case. I disagree, because you have the interloping female. That it's not a band of brothers, you know, flexing their virtue and doing something hard and being self-sacrificial for one another. Again, you introduce the Mary Sue who can do everything right, that puts them to shame. Luigi is a coward compared to her, and he has to get rescued. It's not brotherhood because Mario and Luigi are not working together in some common task. Instead, it's Mario and Princess working together in a common task. So I disagree with your fraternity analysis.
Well, I mean, I guess we disagree. When I watched the movie, I felt the most connection with the Mario-Luigi dynamic. In the beginning of the film, it's made very clear that Luigi cherishes Mario. They have the little flashback to when they were babies and Mario saved him. And yeah, I mean, speaking about being faithful to the games, you ever seen or played Luigi's Mansion?
I have not.
Luigi is a coward. He's scared of the ghosts. He's not certain of himself. That's part of it, was faithful to the games. And there was a little reference to Luigi's Mansion at the beginning of the second act where he's there's all those dry bones, little skeleton guys, and he's like in a house that kind of resembles a mansion.
Right, I noticed that too.
Yeah,
but dude, he's not just supposed to be an overall coward. He's scared of ghosts in the canon.
But he learns his cowardice is his in the story, in his character development. That is his inner conflict, which you want your characters to have inner conflict. Mario's inner conflict is that, you know, because his father's telling him that you're leading Luigi astray and this is, you know, not a worthy venture to do this business with the plumbing and all that type of stuff. He's uncertain of himself. And Luigi is already, you know, scared and trembling, but he looks up to Mario and he wants to be like Mario. And you have to have these flaws in your characters.
Sure. Of course.
And you know, now I'm not going to say what I'm about to say in defense of Peach's character as a female who's ultra powerful. But what I am going to say is that the fairy godmother character doesn't have to necessarily have flaws. Again, I'm not saying that means that the character's a Mary Sue that can do anything. The fairy god character doesn't need a story arc. They're already wise. They're already knowledgeable. If Peach just served as the wise, knowledgeable princess of the Mushroom Kingdom, and that's all she was in the film, she would have fit the role. That wouldn't have been good for the story. It wouldn't have been interesting, but it would have fit the role that she fulfills. And she would have helped Mario on Mario's adventure. So Mario and Luigi, I mean, I'm sitting there in the film. I felt the dynamic. At the end of the movie, Mario's sitting there all literally bruised in the face. They animated textures of bruises on his face. It almost looked like there may have been some blood there, but there probably wasn't. It was like bruises that you could see. And he's been literally beaten up by Bowser. That sequence where Bowser's beaten up on him was brutal. Yeah. And it made me think,
about shots.
he took some shots, and that's good for little kids to see that the protagonist is getting beat up on, and then he's almost giving up, but then the TV shows their commercial, and he gets inspired, and he goes out there for one last ditch effort, and then he's going to get toasted by Bowser, and that's when Luigi comes and saves him. So that whole thing was just like, forget Peach for a moment. That if you just cut those parts out of the film, it'd be a nice little short. It'd be a 100%. Nice little. Yeah.
But you can't, because the feminism is pervasive. I can't separate the two, because I just saw Peach whoop like 20 Koopa Troopas asses in the preceding scene. Sure. Or like a Hammer brother. So she like Chuck Norris roundhouse kicked him and blasted Bowser. Your point earlier is a good one. Mario is basically useless in this. It could have just been Peach doing the whole thing. And that's how they wanted to write it, because that's how these simpleton, dunce feminists that's how they see the world. That they're that brainwashed that they actually think women are like good at fighting. They actually think women have a place in like the armed services, and they're foisting that onto everybody. They're brainwashing little girls. They're cucking little boys. They're emasculating little boys. It used to be you could make a movie like The Sandlot, and the biggest insult would be like, you play ball like a girl, and then everyone's like, oh no, he didn't, and it was like the mic drop moment, But now, and I think they even revised that in the crappy remake to The Sandlot, Sandlot 2, where it's like, you play ball like a girl, and then it's like, she's like the best one on the team or something. It's ridiculous. I can't get away from that. So in order to make Peach into something that women are not supposed to be, because it's a distortion of the feminine nature to be a fighter, to be a protector, they have butchered the entire series. This is their first major film outing. Yeah, not counting like the live action film from like circa 1990.
John Leguizamo.
Same plot basically though. Almost the same. Well, not quite, but almost the same plot. They're in Brooklyn, and then they warp to a weird world where there's wacky stuff going on.
Okay, I think they deserve to pay. They deserve to take a Bud Light hit on this. They've taken their leading man. They've taken the face of not just like, Nintendo Switch, not Nintendo Wii, all of Nintendo, going back to the Nintendo Entertainment System, regular Nintendo, NES, and they've cucked him, and they deserve to pay for that. We are too tolerant as consumers. We're like, well, this is the best we're really going to get. Like, why is this the best we're going to get? I can't get a movie that faithfully restates the franchise that I spent my childhood paying good money and playing, devoting like hours of my time to being able to like fly through Mario 3 levels like in 12 seconds without getting hit and stuff. And, it's a butchery of all of our childhoods. It's the left rewriting history, which they're so keen at doing. They're taking everything that's meaningful to us, whether it's American history, sports history, our movie legendarium, Star Wars, Mario Brothers, anything, but even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. April O'Neil fights now. April O'Neil, if you watch the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the video game, my kids were playing the video game. She's tough. She's a playable character.
She's a playable. Oh wow.
The foot soldier in like the original movie is like, we got a message for you, Miss O'Neil. Your mouth.
Yeah,
and she gets yoked.
Yeah, they slapped her. That movie was great. I love that movie.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be able to make it anymore.
She'd have a message. Yeah. Shut it.
They wouldn't be able to do that anymore. She'd have to be like whooping foot soldiers' butts. They can't do it anymore. They're butchering my childhood by butchering the things that I liked. And then, some dumb liberal woman in the comments is going to be like, oh, here's a man ranting because he doesn't get his video game movies the way he liked it. It's like, well, yeah, what if I took something that you like Precious, and made Precious into a thin, handsome white man and made it all about that, you wouldn't like it.
To piggyback on that, and I'm in agreement.
No pun intended about Precious.
Yeah. If someone were to be in the comments, it's like, oh, your Precious video game movie is ruined. Oh, cry about it. You know what? That's really nonsense, because from the oldest profession, sure, they always say it's prostitution, but the oldest activity is storytelling. People sat around the fire and told stories. They drew pictures on the cave walls of whatever, of them fighting creatures that interestingly look like dinosaurs. Storytelling is like one of the oldest pastimes. That was the word I was looking for. Pastime. One of the oldest pastimes in all of human history is storytelling, and movies are about stories. And video games, it depends on the game. They might be about stories, they might not. But when you make a movie adaptation of a video game, you're making a story out of that video game. And stories have meaning. They relate to our lives, whether they're fantasy stories about, the Mushroom Kingdom, or if they're realistic. It doesn't matter. And I guess that's where I'm coming from with this argument. My argument is based in the idea, what I value the most about a movie is the character stories and the meaning behind the overarching story as well. I could care less if it's a Marvel action flick, a serious drama, a comedy, or an animation such as Mario. I don't care. You can take any of these archetypal stories and you can apply it to whatever you want: an action, a drama, a comedy, a cartoon. I'm talking about the character interactions, their growth as a person, as a character, whether they're animals or, a 3-foot tall plumber in overalls, doesn't matter. So that person in the comments that would, make fun of this conversation, hypothetically speaking, they're missing the point that these stories matter. It's the rest of it's just lipstick on the pig. And I don't know if that's the right metaphor, but that's maybe not. The lipstick on the pig's trying to make something bad look good. It's the dressing. It's the clothing on the outside. What matters is on the inside. That would be a better analogy.
You still got Precious on the brain.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think that, if I were to compartmentalize the different arcs in the Mario Brothers movie, I'd give the Mario and Luigi arc as a standalone thing. You cut that stuff out of the film, you make a short out of it. I'd give it at best an A-, maybe a B+. If I were to take Peach's involvement in the story, the scenes that she has with Mario, her character, oh yeah, F. It's horrible. And I don't know what the average is to, but I guess, overall I'd probably give the movie like a C or something if I were to average that out. Bowser is, he's the antagonist. He doesn't really have that much of an arc, but I mean,
dude, this is where
he's a simp. Well, I'm getting in the weeds here a little bit.
This is where we differ. Well, I think it's a good point. I think you bring something up that's really important, actually, for this discussion. I'm glad you even used the word compartmentalized.
Yeah.
I can't compartmentalize. I have to say that the movie is an integral whole. I can only say that like a little bit of poison in the movie actually affects the quality of the rest of the movie. It's like a cigar, if you have a really low quality tobacco leaf in the cigar, it's going to affect the whole smoke, even if, you mix that with some like high quality tobacco leaves in the same cigar. It's going to bring down the whole thing because ultimately it's an integrated whole. I can't just be the Mario Luigi story is good, which I agree. I think the beginning of the movie is strong when they have all the Easter eggs from Nintendo. You look in the cafe, you can see like Mr. Sandman in the background and like Lil Mac from, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. out. And they have some cool stuff. They have a cool rapport that they're building up. They have a cool backstory where they have rich character development with the dad that looks down on them, kind of, and like kind of a failing plumbing business. They're just getting off the ground. Like, that's cool. But then they bring in the girl power stuff, and I'm automatically thinking, and it's the same way with like reading an essay. And I remember this from law school. I'd be reading the texts in the case law books, and they would start using for the generic pronoun instead of he, which is proper English. Like if you're talking about somebody of an unknown sex, it's a he. That's how English goes. They would use she. Like the case law, the woke judges, the woke law professors would go she. And all of a sudden, it's like, I can't even concentrate on what I'm supposed to be reading anymore, because like you've interjected this pointed word in there. You're trying to make a point with this. So actually the case law is no longer necessarily actually the point. Like now we're having two different discussions here, which is like, you're telling me, albeit in this, symbolic way, in this kind of tacit way, that what we're really talking about is whether it's sexist to have he be the universal pronoun in English. And then that gets me thinking, and now I'm not thinking about the case law anymore. I'm bothered about this other thing because I can read the damn subtext. I can see what you're doing. And it's the same with putting in the Mary Sue, the girl that can't exist, who is like a princess and is pretty, but also transcends the barriers of her sex's frail physique to be like an ass kicker. And by the way, a good driver. Like that's the other point. Like even the Jetsons, they were allowed to have George Jetson be like women drivers, they're terrible. And like, Elroy's like, really, Dad? And he's like, yeah. But in this, Princess Peach, she can do race car driving. It's like, oh, so she's the one, because I watch Formula One and Indy cars and I ain't seeing women drivers. But like, I guess that's another. Yeah, the message now is not, oh, we're telling a story about Mario Brothers, which I'd be very interested in. Like, that's my thing, that's my cup of tea. I'm a fanboy. I like Mario Brothers. No, now we're talking feminism, and it's like, well, this sucks because they're totally wrong about the purpose of women. They're totally wrong that women are tough. They're not. And again, I love addressing my audience and breaking the fourth wall, because there's always some dingbat out there that's like, no, I know a woman Marine. She's an ass kicker. She can hang with all the other guys. You're right for a lot of women, but I know total ass kicker women. Like, no, you don't. They're wimpy too. All of them. There's not one alive. They're all horrible at anything that has to do with sports, athletics, or combat. All of them.
This person's wrong. The person can't tango with the boys, and two outliers. So what? So there's a girl that's a little stronger than the average girl. That just means that she might be as strong as a generally kind of below average guy. So
no, that's true, man. That's a statistic. Did you know that elite female athletes are in the bottom quartile?
Wasn't it
forearm
like a
strength for
professional soccer women team like lost to high school boys in a soccer game?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. Yeah.
So let me gather my thoughts for a second. So compartmentalizing. Speaking of video games, I think there's truth to what you're saying. You can't compartmentalize everything. You can't just say, well, this part of the movie's good, so therefore it's great. That's not what I'm trying to say. I do think that the Princess Peach aspect of the movie does really taint the rest of it. But like a video game, just because the graphics suck doesn't mean that the story's bad. Just because there is no story doesn't mean the gameplay is bad. Just because the controls are bad doesn't mean the game isn't overall fun. These things kind of affect each other. The poor graphics means it's difficult sometimes to, play the game properly because you can't see what you're trying to do if the graphics suck that bad. But so it's an analogy. Some bad aspects of a movie will affect the rest of the movie more or less. I do think Peach being a Mary Sue ruins quite a lot. I mean, the entire second act and most of the third act was like, meh. because of her. It's like, I'm disinterested. For a moment there, I was at the edge of my seat, but then only to be disappointed with Peach, being captured, for forfeiting herself to save the kingdom, and then it was just all, before Mario and Donkey Kong are literally on their way back. They're on their way. They can see the wedding off in the distance, and Peach saves herself before they even get there. It's so stupid. It's so incredibly stupid. So, like I said at the beginning of this whole thing, I really do sympathize with your position, and I agree with your position to a certain extent. I do compartmentalize these things to some degree, because I do care so much about a character story that I look at at one character's story. If I watch a TV show with kind of an ensemble cast, there's certain stories that I don't care as much about, and then there's kind of the main story or maybe even a side story that I care more about, and I'm going to watch the whole thing because it all relates to each other. But when the scenes come on with the story I'm less interested in, I'm just less interested at that time. But overall, it works. I think, huge missed opportunity. If Peach if they just didn't make her a Mary Sue, if they just kept her as my definitive opinion is if they just kept Peach as the fairy godmother character, the wise character with the knowledge of the kingdom, the wisdom, maybe she offers Mario some assistance with the power-ups and all that type of stuff. That would have improved the film so much. And if Mario saved Peach after she forfeit herself for the kingdom, I would have loved that. I think that would have been great. Maybe there's an alternate script that could be written where she's captured and that's the point of the film. Maybe that could be written. I'm sure it could. I just think that because they started off the film strong with Mario and Luigi, the Mario and Luigi dynamic, it's difficult to have Peach be the one who's captured when Mario and Luigi are the ones that the story is really centered around. She's really kind of a side character. That's probably another reason why I'm able to kind of compartmentalize. Okay, yeah, she's that Mary Sue. They made her a girl boss. Okay, I'm just gonna push that aside, and I'm focused on the Mario and Luigi dynamic. So the best part of the film is the first act and the end of the third act, the climax.
All right. Well, for my part, just to close it up for me, like I don't think I can recommend the movie. It's generally innocuous. It has less of the offensive stuff. I mean, the most offensive thing, again, is just inverting the sex roles, which, your kids seeing one movie like that isn't going to make, like, your daughter's butch and your son's into fairies or anything like that. If it's like a constant torrent, it might pervert their understanding of what it is to be man and what it is to be woman. That's why the left puts stuff like this out, is exactly to undermine that and to create the confusion. This one is innocuous enough where, like, I'm not going to be like, it's a hard pass for all parents. It's not going to poison your kids' minds from one viewing. At the same time, it's just gay. Like, that's the word for it. It's a fine movie. Like, it was interesting enough, but it's gay. I'm sick of being lectured to about how tough women are when they're not. They're not tough. They're real wimpy. They're the opposite of tough. Whatever tough is, the opposite is woman. And that's the role. They're the weaker sex. It's unbiblical. It's 1 Peter 3, 1-7. Women are the weaker sex. You have to protect them and watch out for them. Whenever you have some broad, like, beating up 10 guys, it's absurd. It's ridiculous. Just training them karate, it doesn't matter. If a woman knows karate, I could still beat her badly with little difficulty. It's just a fact. You can't take a 110-pound waif and make her into, Tyson Fury or like John Jones because she knows a couple kicks or something like that. She ain't no Chuck Norris. So it is what it is. Like, it's another butchered memory of my childhood. Fortunately, the the harpies, the old hags that are embedded in these studios are not embedded in the Nintendo video game laboratory, so we can still get good Mario entries from there and play on and just try and forget that this movie ever happened and butchered and, cucked my friends Mario and Luigi. And we didn't even talk about Toad, who's made into a total, limp-wristed fairy.
I'm not even sure what Toad's role was in the movie. He just helped Mario get to Peach, and that was it. And then after that, he's kind of useless.
Horrible. Totally different from the cartoons.
Yeah.
Well, again, in the cartoons, Toad's, kind of tough and stuff. He's like cut off shirt
He's
guy.
supposed to be the comedic relief, I think. Sometimes you just have a character that's there for comedic relief. He says some funny things. He rides up in that big monster truck at the thing. I think that's really what his purpose was.
Well, I guess they saw how Jar Jar went down, and they were like, yeah, we're going to need some of that, because that was a good decision.
We need some Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get me started on the prequels, Dave. Don't get me started on the prequels. Maybe that's another debate one day.
I know you're going to give me the business about that.
Yeah,
because you told me you were. But
we won't get into it. But just for the audience to know, I don't really trust Dave Gordon's opinion on movies all that much after I heard his opinion on the prequels.
Yeah, episode 4 is really good because there'd be a monster in a Death Star. They just have a monster in like the goopy garbage in a space station. That makes sense.
He eats the trash. Yeah, he eats the trash.
That's been retconned.
Built in. I don't know. Who cares?
Kyle, you've been utterly silent. I apologize. Kyle's been there just watching this train wreck of a debate play out or whatever. Any thoughts from you, Kyle, in closing, as the host and boss man?
Who won this debate, and why is it me?
Yeah. Well, it's just like the old whose line is it anyway? The game's made up and the points don't matter. So I'm not going to really call a winner here. I will say that, full disclosure, I probably should have said this at the beginning. I had not much to add because I have not seen the movie, and after this, maybe I won't see the movie. My kids saw it.
That's an admission. Bam.
Yeah.
Charlie.
Hey, I'm on the fence. If you land either way, that's fine by me.
Kidding,
I'll probably.
Charlie's like wiping a tear away. I'm just joking.
I'll probably watch it. I don't know if it's one of those movies that we're going to show to the kids over and over again. Those staples from your childhood where you memorized every line because you've seen it so many times. So maybe that's where Dave's pushing with his advice is we're not going to play this in our house over and over again.
I would ask you, did you play Mario as a kid?
Yes.
Did you play it a lot as a kid?
Played the original, got all the nostalgia. So you're saying I would get the nostalgia?
I would, is because you played it a lot when you were younger. There's so many references in this movie. I'd see it just for that reason alone. And if you do go and see it, I would focus on the Mario Luigi story, and just whenever Peach is on the screen, just realize that that's just, woke garbage.
Maybe I'll do an edited version where I edit all that out. I don't know if it really can be done based on what you guys are describing, but honestly, I had high hopes for it. I jumped on that conservative bandwagon where I was like, finally, a movie where I don't, have to potentially shield my kids' eyes because there's a lesbian kiss or a trans kid or whatever. And we're jumping on that bandwagon, but we're just taking the bare minimum, I think, like Dave said.
We have been destroyed and gutted in the culture wars to the point where we'll just take anything that is not overt, like it is overt propaganda, but like inherently evil overt propaganda, where I actually have to see like lesbians adopting a child in progress.
Right. So the only concerns that I had about it, based on looking at it from an outsider's perspective, not having seen it, just watch like the previews or whatever, is like, I was like, oh, they don't have Italian accents. That's what my concern was.
Hey, that's handled at the very beginning of the film. It's actually quite hilarious.
Really? Okay, so
yeah, they kind of explain it, and it's funny. And you know what? Honestly, you don't want them to have those goofy Italian accents throughout the entire movie to get annoying. They address it at the beginning of the film. It's quite funny, and that's one part I won't ruin for you. But it's look forward to it.
Okay, good. Yeah, that was one of my major concerns. I'm glad they address it. I look forward to it. I probably will end up seeing the movie. It'll probably come into my house at one point, and we'll maybe show it to the kids a second time. The kids were aware. My kids were aware of it, actually. They're like, why is Peach doing all this stuff? Like, one of my sons actually pointed that out, and I'm like, good on you, kid.
It's a real shame. It's a real shame. It's a bad message for kids, and that's my big gripe about it, is that, you know, okay, like, yeah, this woke garbage is absolute garbage, and it shouldn't be hoisted on anybody. But these bad, horrible stories, this character development isn't there. She doesn't have any character development because there was no development, because she was just a Mary Sue from the get-go. That doesn't teach kids any valuable lesson about life. We're doing a disservice to our kids because of these types of characters. You know, speaking of settling with these types of stories, a couple of compartmentalizing here. I don't think the Peach character was really a girl boss. She was very generous and kind to Mario. She only showed him up in her actions, not in her like active, like, I'm going to show you up because I'm a girl boss. So, I mean, there's a lot of these films where the girl, says some snarky thing against the boys, and it's like, oh, no man has this power. I hold this power, or whatever. Peach isn't really like that in the film, but she's still a disservice because there's nothing of value with her character story. It's just she's the same character at the beginning as she is at the end.
And she's tougher than Mario, so she makes
she's
Mario
tougher than
obsolete.
Mario.
Like, why did Mario have to fight Donkey Kong? They should have sent Princess Peach.
Yeah,
right?
they should have just sent Princess Peach to fight Donkey Kong. That's true.
This is where I was hopeful in the middle of the movie, like, oh, they're gonna make it that he's like far surpassed her in toughness, and that his role is now like gonna be the tough guy role, but they never make the distinction. Yeah. But Kyle, when your son was like, "Daddy, why are they making the woman tough?" Were you like, you looked over, a little tear rolls down your eye, you're like, proud of your son? Was it one of those moments?
Exactly. He recently saw another, I guess, similar genre type thing where a princess wants to be a doctor and escape her like royal duties or whatever. And in that particular movie, the king said to her, "No, you need to be at home, sewing pretty pillows." And my son's like, "Yeah, that's what she should be doing." I'm like,
"Damn right."
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But we will wrap up on this. At least from what I noticed, they kept Peach as a Caucasian girl, right? They didn't make her some Jamaican.
Oh yeah,
Velma her.
I was gonna say earlier, in the Ninja Turtles, the newest Ninja Turtles animated thing, April O'Neil is short, fat, and black, I think, or maybe Jamaican or something like that.
I think
no
Jamaicans
joke.
are black, Charlie.
Well, yeah, they're black.
You need to make that sub-distinction.
There's African, and then there's Jamaican, and then there's probably a few others. She's short, fat, and black. She's no longer a redhead Irish girl.
Yeah.
What's this attack on the Irish? Ariel is black now. She's redhead. She's an Irish mermaid.
Granted, she's not really Irish because she lives we can imagine she lives under the redheads of
redheads are beautiful and at least the females and they're turning them all black.
O'Neil, there's Shaquille O'Neal.
O'Neal.
Yeah,
April O'Neil. She's Irish and now she's black.
It's the Shaq factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shaquille O'Neal. Well, Shaquille O'Neal probably is like a quarter white or whatever. I don't know. Who knows?
He's probably
his dad's dad was probably Irish.
He took they took the name of I can't say it. I don't want to say that. I'll get in trouble for saying that. But anyways, okay.
We're all in trouble already.
We have the Super Mario Brothers movie. See it if you're all on board with the girl power stuff. Conservatives out there, it is actually a woke movie. You need to wake up and realize this. And that's all we got to say. So, gentlemen, thanks for joining me. And Charlie, special thanks to you. We'll have you back on next time to discuss maybe the Star Wars prequels.
Maybe we'll have the Star Wars debate.
Oh, that is on like Donkey Kong.
Yeah. All right. I'll have to do some more homework for that one.
Awesome, guys. We'll see you. God bless.
God bless. Bye-bye.